Thank you. Shout out to the thrift swaps. I got these heels at a thrift swap. Okay, shout out to the thrifters. Round of applause for everybody. Okay, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Once again, I am Kamasia Ayers, and today this lightning talk, this is 10 minutes? Okay, I'm gonna shoot for 10. That's the goal. Okay, but yes, we are focusing on overcoming imposter syndrome, and so we have our lovely capybara doing a little verbal checklist. You know, I am good, I am enough, or I said that backwards, but y'all see the vibes. Smart and talented. Can I please get a click? Hello, once again, me, Kamasia. Peep that I'm wearing the same outfit. But yeah, so me, Kamasia, and CC the capybara. That is our mascot for this talk. Once again, I'm a trauma-informed specialist. Ooh, I did run into the table. Sociocultural strategist and an innovative sociologist. I love sociology so bad. Everybody, feel free to close your eyes again. If you don't, no pressure. Slight peer pressure, but you know, only if it works. You are safe, you are worthy, you are smart. You are not alone in this journey. Everyone does not know what they're doing. You are competent. And once again, this is a conversation, not a lecture. You may open your eyes, everyone. Round of applause for everyone who closed their eyes. Even if you didn't close your eyes, you're in the round of applause as well. Can I have a thingy? Thank you. So what is imposter syndrome? Raise your hand if you've heard of the game Among Us. Okay, period. So if you have not heard of the game Among Us, it is where one person is deemed as the imposter. You're almost like a hunter slash like, I would just call it a hunter. And everyone looks the same, different colors, little characterizations, but nobody knows who the hunter actually is. And your goal is to take care of everyone, if y'all know what I mean. But yeah, so with that being said, imposter syndrome, I don't want to read off the slide, but I'm going to read through the slide real quick and then kind of start going on my spiel, because if not, I would definitely go over that in 15 minutes. But yes, imposter syndrome is the persistent belief that your success is accidental, that you fooled everyone, that you will be found out that you are not worthy to be in the spaces that you are in, the opportunities that you apply to or you don't apply to, because it will try to stop you. Imposter syndrome is an op. And when you have thoughts like imposter syndrome, raise your hand if you are stubborn. That's your ops winning. If when you let imposter syndrome win, you're letting your ops win. Raise your hand if you will let the ops win. Okay, no, you don't let the ops win. You don't let the ops win. No. Exactly. That you are one mistake away from exposure. And even though there are clear evidences of your competencies, you realize that this does not go away. The more you progress on, the more imposterous you feel. Can I have a... Perfect. So why do high achievers experience imposter syndrome? You know, you're doing all this cool stuff. Why are you suffering in silence or unsilenced? But more than likely, you're suffering in silence. Because your standards start to increase with success. Raise your hand if you have very high expectations for yourself. All right, raise your hand if you have those same expectations for your loved ones and best friends. That's valid, okay? Some of y'all say, birds of a feather, so. But yes, it's one of those things where we start to realize that as we progress on in our careers, in our professional life, in our personal life, and the things that we do, we want to be the best for ourselves, but at a certain point, ego is like, move over, I'm driving the boat right now. And it starts to turn into like this perpetual cycle of, okay, I'm here, but you're moving the goalpost. So say that the goal is, okay, I want to be able to juggle two, to be honest, because I can't even juggle two. I want to juggle 2 golf balls. Cool, the moment I learn how to do that, oh, that's not enough, I need to do 3. Now 4 bowling balls. And then you just progressively go on and on and on because you're becoming unsatisfied, because the moment you hit this accolade, the ego is like, girl, what's next? I'm not hungry, because you're not feeling fulfilled. You're not following your passion. You're not following the things that you want to do, because society is telling you it's supposed to look like this. With increased visibility comes scrutiny. You know, people say that they want to expand, whether it's an app, whether it's their business, whether it's their following, but they don't understand. People talk crap. People criticize, but they can't do. People will judge before they try. We live in a society where no does beat a try. I believe that nothing beats a try. Nothing beats a no but a try. But we live in a society of people who just don't try, but they see you trying. But it's like, I don't judge you when you're washing dishes. How are you going to judge how I fold laundry? It's one of those things. And then, imposter syndrome really starts to attack you when your identity does not move with the reality of what's going on, and your perception of yourself does not move with the accomplishments that you're making. Accomplishments does not have to be a certificate. It's not a resume. It is not another degree. These are accomplishments, yes, but the fact that you woke up today is an accomplishment. If no one told y'all today, I am proud of y'all. Every single one. Round of applause for yourself. Hey, turn up. That's my favorite. And so when your reality is shifting more than your perception of yourself, it starts to create such a disparity between you and the reality that you're in. But we have to remember our perception of ourselves and perceptions of different things, whether it's organizations, communities, products, it's built on experiences. And those experiences are not exempt from conditioning. People are flawed. Environments are flawed. The things that study people, such as AI, are flawed, implicitly and explicitly, especially when it comes to a bias. And so we have to also take into consideration, what biases do you hold against yourself? What ways are you punishing yourself, essentially, because you didn't shoot a three-pointer the first time you ever picked up a basketball? And then, as you rise, your self-image starts to kind of lag behind, because the brain will find reasons and answers to your questions. If you ask yourself questions, don't do this in your head, I'll say it, but if you ask a question like, why am I bad? Your brain is going to be like, 15 reasons right now, girl, BuzzFeed quiz, how bad are you? So, it's one of those things where your brain likes answering things. So when we do have these warped perceptions of ourselves, where society says, no, you're too young, you're too old, you're too this, you're too that, our brain is going to listen to some degree, because, if everyone's saying it, then I must be the one that's wrong. And so, a lot of it comes with being hard on yourself, but also marginalized leaders. We have to navigate different biases. Referencing those graphs that I had regarding intersectional identities, these things constantly shift depending on the environment that you're in, depending on the people that you're around, the things that pour into you, but the things that also siphon your energy from you. And so as you're navigating these spaces, you have to understand that you guys are holding knives. Knives can cut a birthday cake, but they can also stab someone. It's really what you do with it in the environments that you're in. If you're in a business meeting, you pop out a knife with a cake, they're going to be like, girl, go home. Go home right now, actually. Save some, but go home. Versus, if I just came in here and I'm like, hey, guys, we got a cake, da-da-da-da, different environments, different strokes, different folks, different reason. Can I have a... Yes, so there's 3 roots of imposter syndrome. And so one is perfectionism. If it's not flawless, I'm a failure. And so we have to ask ourselves, at what point are we holding ourselves to unrealistic standards because our society says these are the standards? This is the idea of beauty, smartness, of innovation. We have to understand even the restraints that we put on ourselves that are so abstract, these were put here because of positions of power. Most of it does relate to capitalism. All of our isms and obias root back to capitalism when you kind of follow the trail in the, isms obias tree. The roots are nurtured by capitalism. So when we're looking at things like perfectionism and us not being perfect, what type of environments did you grow in? Were you in an environment where if you just sneezed the wrong way, you were scrutinized? Were you not allowed to show up as your authentic self? Were you not allowed to, you messed up on your homework assignment, now you were whooped and you were forced to sit there and finish it, or back when we were doing cursive in school, I ain't forget that now. If these things weren't perfect, you were forced to do them over and over again, to where that perfectionism eventually became a coping mechanism. And that coping mechanism eventually becomes a form of identity. Y'all don't gotta be perfect, but I gotta be. Y'all can mess up, I'm gonna give everyone else grace because I know what it's like, but me, I'm different, I'm built different, okay? It's one of those things where we realize we have these biases towards ourselves where it's like, why are you punishing yourself? Comparison culture. You compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Nobody posts when they have explosive diarrhea. Nobody posts when they stub their toe or when they're sick or when their hair falling out or nothing. People don't post that. Nobody does. But they will post their accolades and their achievements. And the way the algorithm is built up, if it's gonna make you feel like crap, it's probably gonna be on your timeline. Your algorithms know you well enough to know what triggers you, to know what supports you, to know the things you like and the things you don't like. So I know your feed is probably things that you're like, oh, I really like this, but then you get that one thing that does trigger you. When we live in a society where it's the foundation in American culture is power, we start to, we start to see that we're putting so many glass ceilings. And a lot of times what we perceive as like, okay, this glass ceiling is here, they're doing better because they have these things. But in reality, those things don't exist. We realize it's a hologram that's being projected to us. We don't control those narratives. The things that take our data, the things that consume us, is what is projecting those disparities and furthering and perpetuating these cycles. And then lastly, the conditional validation. You are praised for achievement, not for what you can do or what you are. So it's one of those things where, referencing my talk earlier, can you take me to the airport? Oh my gosh, you're such a good friend. Or those friends who constantly, friends, family members, partners, co-workers, strangers, okay? Because strangers do be strangers sometimes. It's one of those things where you're constantly seeing yourself, your worth, everything around that for what you're doing for the community. And you start to kind of take on this label. I'm the therapist friend. What are y'all? Why? Why can't you just be a friend who actively listens? Why do you have to be a paid professional? What unpaid labor are you now doing in this name of friendship, in the name of acceptance? Because just because you give, that don't mean that they have to actually like you. Period. Can I have a bloop? All right, so let's reframe it. So imposter syndrome, it is often growth discomfort. You're growing, but you don't feel comfortable. You don't feel like you deserve it. What would make you feel like you deserve it? Working hard, sacrificing all your time, working for years and years and years, and then finally, oh, I get it. Well, it's not, because you're just going to move the goalpost. So we got to get ourselves out of these cycles. A lot of time, it's courage cloaked in doubt that is brought on and weaved by our conditions and our conditioning, period. Also, our external conditioning and our internal expectations. If I was poked and prodded with those little cattle hot rods, every time I saw the color blue, I would scream at your blazer. I would freak out. So when I'm in another position where they're like, hey, you're doing a talk on the color blue, and I only associate those things with fear, with trauma, with all these things, we have to essentially realize the conditions that we're brought up in, our realities aren't always going to reflect that, because when we get out of those spaces, that's how growth really happens. Can we have a look? That's the last one? Okay, period. And that's okay. And so I want you guys to take some time to reflect. It's going to be like 5 seconds low key. But what was an accomplishment that you really minimized? Did you celebrate your accomplishment? Did you have time to really soak it in and marinate it like some good food? What skills did it actually require? And what would you say to a friend that you know who achieved that? They come to you, oh my gosh, I just did my da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Are you just going to write it off like, well, I have this thing that I have to apply to the deadlines in 2 days? Or are you going to be like, wow, like that's really big. We should go turn up. And you can go next. And so we need sustainable confidence. Confidence is not loud certainty. It's you knowing yourself and showing up for yourself and thinking that you are worthy enough to even be in these spaces. And there's different ways to build that. Survive the small failures. Confidence is not something that just happens out of the blue. It follows the behaviors that you start to initiate. Allow yourself to learn. Allow yourself to upgrade. Imposter syndrome, you're glitching. You're glitching because the bugs are in your code. Oh, I kind of ate that low-key. And so, a lot of times we're never going to feel ready. That's a myth. Allow yourself to take action before you feel ready. And then going back to the whole, celebrating your accomplishments, I better see all y'all at happy hour turning up in honor of your recent accomplishments, period. Can I have a, gotcha. And so here's some tools. Keep an evidence log. Write down your accomplishments, okay? I have a log for every year. Even if it's something like try a new restaurant, you try something new, write it down, write down your accomplishments, normalize the gap. Are you reaching a new level and hitting a learning curve? or are you just feeling the gap that you're scared to kind of jump through? And then understand fact from feelings. I feel versus I am. Tap into those journal prompts. And then once again, the adventure escapades. One new thing every single day. I promise you guys, it sounds super dumb simple to where it's like, girl, this don't make no sense. This is like, girl, bye. One new thing every day. Tie your shoes, try a restaurant, climb a tree, visit a place, call someone who you haven't called in a long time, cuss someone out. Do something that is, that you typically don't do and allows you to step out of these new boundaries, because you are not behind, you are becoming. Imposter syndrome does not mean that you don't belong. It means that you're in rooms that you never thought even were possible. And that's just a testimony to your growth. Thank you.